It's going to be a good session of Wednesday wisdom today. Looks like we got Brock there with his hat on. He hasn't worn sunscreen all week, you guys. But today, oh, he took the hat off. Darn, I had
I
hope that he was protecting a little bit of his skin. I had a little bit
well,
of hope, Brock.
I didn't want to tease you too much over here. I have a little bit. We actually had a little clouds all. We had a couple clouds yesterday. So for our sunscreen people, it has been zero clouds pretty much the majority of the week. So a lot of sun, a lot of sun.
So, Brock, does this mean you look like a chicharron right now?
I'm getting there.
You're
I
getting
am
there.
getting there. I'm on my way to changing color by the time I get back on Friday.
There you go. I love it so much. So, I am so excited to welcome everyone to another session of Wednesday Wisdom on the man you just saw right there, Brock Zvan's Mindset Motivation Show. I am your host today, Miss Rebecca Black. I'm the founder of Confidology. I'm a podcast host, a confidence queen, and an entrepreneur. In the last Wednesday Wisdom last month, we learned about confidence being quiet, how it's nice and quiet. It's not loud, it's not boisterous. And today we are joined by one heck of a powerhouse lady and my personal branding coach, Miss Kylea Monma, who taught me that the clarity of confidence comes through storytelling. Kylea is the founder of Hoku Design Group, a brand consultancy built on the principles of clarity, connection, and authenticity. But what really sets her apart is not just the brands she's taken to the next level or the startups and nonprofits she's helped thrive. It's the story behind the storyteller and their unique DNA. As the oldest of four children, Kylea was put into a leadership role at an early 6 years of age, shielding her siblings from stress and stepping into responsibility far beyond her years. That same strength would later become her North Star. Whether designing peace treaty proposals in Washington, D.C., building brand identities for billion-dollar tech companies, or creating impact campaigns that moved Congress to take action, Kylea brought one thing to every single table she has ever sat at, and that clarity is born from confidence. But clarity, as she knows all too well, emerges from the fog. She was faced with a health crisis that nearly claimed her life and wiped away 3 years of her work. Kylea had to confront the reality that she could no longer define herself by performance alone. That moment, as devastating as it was, created the most powerful reframe. She wasn't here to rebuild herself each and every time. She was here to build something bigger than herself and to help others do the same. Kylea's brand DNA is the foundation of what I lay out and the cornerstone of Confidology, your identity and your personality. Control, Alt, Delete. Kylea took control of her narrative, and now she helps other people do that. She alternated her approach to work by shifting from being a freelancer to becoming a founder, and she deleted the limiting belief that her value was tied to what she produced, and she embraced who she truly is. And today we are diving deep into the idea that confidence creates clarity. And let me tell you, there is no one better to walk us through that than Miss Kylea Monma. Welcome, Kylea.
Wow, I'm just taking that introduction in. So honored to be here and thank you. It's such an amazing thing when we're reflected back onto us pieces of our story. It still is such a amazing thing and I love being able to do that with clients too. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
You are so, so welcome. And, I came to meet Kylea through one of the women's wellness events that I co-hosted on the Space Coast in 2024. And I just really, really like connected with her. And she showed up in such an air of confidence. And I had been building this whole confidology, like I had the concept down, like pages and pages of notes, you guys. And I think that some of you guys will really resonate with this because you may have like some really big idea. You may have all of the research. I had like the branding colors. I had the logo. I had colors. I had all of the things. But for me, it was a major blind spot. It's easy for me to see it in other people, but it's not so easy for me to see it for myself. And when I sat down with you, Kylea, and we did the brand DNA and we really dug in. It was the first time that I understood why I felt such a calling. Like Chad Free, who's on this, he's like, he knows that like wealth, even though it has to do with money, but it's not tied to money. Money is, you were created on purpose for a purpose, and helping people unlock those things is really, really powerful. So, Kylea, I want to thank you for helping me walk through that. And as I read some of your bio, I really recognize that you have led with confidence since childhood, even though it may not felt like you were really confident at the time. And so, how would you say that that early responsibility shaped the clarity that you bring to brand storytelling today?
Oh, what a great question. So yeah, there's, throughout my life, confidence and identity and personality, all of these things have played into who I am today in so many different ways. But at a young age, I took on a role, and most of our confidence is tied to a role that we're serving. It's tied to how we feel about fulfilling that role. So I was very proud to step up as the oldest of four and to do what I had to do. So I learned that confidence, but what I learned later in life was that I didn't know who I was. So my reference for that confidence was tied in roles, not in who I was. And what happened, what I learned later on was that when that role changed, I didn't know who I was. So
Hmm.
then I was on this journey, this obsession with accomplishment in school and in the jobs that I took on, in the roles, like I wanted to keep elevating my roles because my self-worth was also tied into that role. I bring this up because, confidence has a reference point.
Hmm.
And when you really uncover who you are, what you stand for, what matters to you, it gives confidence a whole new perspective, a whole new power. And that creates clarity because then you're referencing your decision making from who you are. And as a woman, as a female, I was very well trained to remove myself from the equation. So then coming into the entrepreneur space, working in branding and marketing and communications through the first half of my career taught me so much, taught me the power of words, taught me the power of storytelling. And I was obsessed with this ability that movies, even in a commercial, could just move you to these deep emotions. And that's truly the human experience. And so skipping forward to entrepreneurship and being a founder, and just knowing so intimately what that journey looks like, you can't, if you anchor your confidence in an audience, in a solution, but you don't put yourself in that equation, you're going to be chasing trends, you're going to be chasing what you think others need because you think that's where you're going to get the payoff. So I help everyone rewire this into the unshakable foundation, which I call the brand DNA blueprint, which really helps you anchor into your why. And for you, oh my gosh, you're such a great example because it is you, it's your way of being. You understand it so intimately that to articulate it to others, it's there's so many things that you just know naturally. You don't always know what those other pieces are to fill in to really communicate what it is to the rest of the world. And I went through the same thing. I had to hire a coach to help me reflect because it's just one of our human blind spots, to get that reflection. But when you root it from there and you see the why, not only does it create a sustainable anchor for you because you're more likely to stay leaning into that. It's not going to change, with the seasons. Your core values are deep. For those to shift, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of things to change your core values. So it's the most stable thing to ground yourself and ground your brand. And your brand for your business and whatever your venture is should be an expression that includes you in it. It's an
Oh,
expression of that, and then a way to communicate to the rest of the world what you want.
100%. And Kylea, I love how you said that I had my confidence in showing up in roles. And so it's like as women, like a wife is a role, a mom is a
Mhm.
role, who you are at work is a different role. And then who you
Yep.
are interacting with at work changes all of those roles. And I said in the last Wednesday Wisdom, coincidentally, that true confidence is I see you for you and I celebrate you, and you see me for me and you celebrate me. And my sense of
Absolutely.
self-worth in any role that I play in life is not tied to your opinion or your expectation of me. The Lord Jesus himself is the
Yes.
only opinion and expectation that we should be living up to. So I love how you say
Amen.
that. And I will say, confidence is one of those things that is really, really, really rooted in your identity,
Mhm.
your personality. So your identity is who you are, your personality is who you show up as. So we can show up in different roles all the time. But at the
Mhm.
top of that, the pinnacle is your belief. And so a
Yes.
lot of people do gratitude journals. And I want you to speak a little bit about this and building, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs on this call today, and we have a lot of people in the business world, all different kinds of businesses, and how
Mhm.
we all show up in our business is deeply rooted to what is called your personal brand. You are the brand. You may work for a company, but how you show up is how you represent that brand. And so, whenever it comes to showing up in confidence and in authenticity, what is the
Mhm.
importance of the brand story and truly understanding who you are and why you are supposed to be doing what you are doing?
Again, another really great question, and topic to dive into. So, our there's a lot of stories that we tell ourselves, that we hear, that we kind of like these narratives that float around us. And you touched on beliefs. So we have a belief system that drives our intentions and ultimately determines if we're going to hit our goals or not. And there's a framework that I came up with that's called Think Big. BIG stands for beliefs, intentions, and goals. And it's so important to align those. So first of all, when you start to dive into your own story, and I encourage every entrepreneur here or anyone in your role, like just all of you, take a moment and write down a draft of the narrative that's deep in you about who you are in your story, because it's a really special process to go through that and to identify what it is that you've been saying about yourself. And what's interesting is that I want you to then look back at it and take a highlighter or notes or something and look at what things may be true and may not be true. Because limiting beliefs are ingrained in us from a very young age and through our life experiences, and we carry them into the roles and into our future that we're trying to build, and sometimes we don't recognize that. So the value and the importance of uncovering your own story, being able to reflect on that, identify what narratives are old narratives, which ones were handed to you, passed down to you, what burdens did you take on that were actually other people's, and start to really uncover who you are. And when you get to that story about, the simplest question you can ask yourself is, why does this matter to me? And I actually had a hard time answering that. So if you can't answer that up front, I encourage you to ask yourself, what do I stand against? Like, what am I absolutely not okay with? Write down all the things that you do not accept. And then from there you'll start to uncover what it is you do stand for. And then you get to rewrite your story and let go of old narratives and old pieces of that. And really, it's a powerful way to truly manifest your purpose into the work that you're doing. It's going to help you see yourself so much more strong and then honor the experiences that were hard or, that were exciting, that inspired you. But all of that had a purpose. Pain had a purpose. Struggle had a purpose. Even the confusion served a purpose. It's saying slow down and find your anchor, find your reference point. So when you can really get to know yourself and figure out what your story is, you actually take back control of your life and your ability to co-create the world that you want and the experiences. And that's with every relationship that you have. So there's so much power in you telling your own story,
Yes.
because other people will tell it for you
Don't I know it?
unless you want to go take the wheel on that. So, yeah, did that answer what you were?
That did answer the question, and I will tell you, you guys should take her up on your challenge, whether it's a role that you play in your work for the realtors that are on here. It's like, why did I go into real estate? Why did I go into cosmetology? Why did I go into photography? Why did I go into financial strategies? Why did I go into insert your thing here? And I started doing that myself about 2 months ago, and I thought that I had a great story together. And then I sent it to Kylea, and she was like, "That is great. That's great." She's very nice, but I found out that I needed to go in and really hone in on the messaging. And at the core of it, what I uncovered is that in my early life, I thought that confidence was something you could just put on like your favorite outfit, that it was just like that fake it till you make it, and in some regards, that's true. But I found myself in positions where it was like I was hanging with people that I didn't necessarily like. I was doing things that I didn't necessarily like to do. I was drinking too much. I lost my southern accent like 98.99999% of the time, just in an effort to fit in. And it's like, I want everyone to gain that confidence inside of their skin. And I started doing that going through Kylea's brand DNA. So, Kylea, I know what the brand DNA is. I know how powerful that session is. But can you walk us through like your brand DNA blueprint and how it helps clients uncover who they truly are and speak from their place of power?
Absolutely. So, let's see. The the whole premise is to really get into, what the journey has looked like to get you to have helped you arrive to where you are today. So I always start by talking through, as much of your story as anyone's willing to share. And so for you all who want to kind of walk through this on your own, that's writing out your story, like from the beginning, from your childhood to where you are today. List all the things that come to mind. It's really important. Reflection is so powerful. And really, that's the catalyst for growth. And getting clarity in how you see and perceive and how it makes you feel is also extremely powerful. So I always start by figuring out what your current situation is, honoring the journey that got you here, and then we talk about your vision for the future. Like, where do you want to go? And then we go through the steps to really uncover, like, what are the gaps in between there? What are the frameworks and the tools and the skills that need to come into play to help bring this vision to fruition? So I do a 1.5 hour, 2 hours, sometimes they run a little longer, interview session. We dive deep into all of that from all the information that I pull out of you because I ask you, I try to uncover those motivations. We go below the surface because there's the surface level elevator pitch, the standard answers, the very short, you know, descriptions at the very top. but I want to get deep, deep, deep down below the surface and what it really means to you. So then I can extract from that, what is the special, unique differentiator that you bring to the table. And let me just say that with AI at play now, knowledge is a commodity. Okay, you guys, the only way for us to differentiate in this world is through who we are. So now more than ever, it's so important to know how to show up with your unique perspective on the world. And with Confidology, I mean, you've uncovered such a beautiful framework to help people understand that there's an identity and a personality and how that comes together, and walking through them through that journey to gain a new level of confidence. So in your case, it was really understanding what all of that meant, kind of how you arrived to those things that mattered most to you, and then where were your strengths in delivering that. And so then the next stage of the blueprint is to map that out into your vision, your mission, your core values, your brand archetype. And if you all aren't familiar with archetypes, archetypes are personality types that go back to the beginning of time, created by Carl Jung, which is also tied into like the Myers-Briggs, all the different personality tests out there based off of this. But if you've ever watched a movie, every movie character is based on an archetype. And the reason that I include that is because it gives us a very clear reference of the strong personality types that do come through in the work that we do. So I uncover what your brand archetypes are, your voice and tone, what your core messaging is, and then I help you map out a pathway, a roadmap that'll get you from where you are to where you need to be. But I also define your North Star, and your North Star is rooted in your truth. And this is because we there's so much going on. Like we're constantly bombarded with marketing tactics and opportunities, and it's real easy to get caught up in all of the things to do that we lose connection to our North Star, to our root, to our truth, to why we're doing this. And if anybody needs a really strong way to empower their decision making, if you're ever in a situation you're just like, I just don't even know if this is right, or I don't know how to make a decision here, uncover your truth and your North Star. And this will be your anchor to come back to say, okay, is this in alignment with who I am? Is this an alignment with my goals and how I want to serve and how I want to make an impact in this world? Is this an alignment with everything that I want to be doing right now? And check yourself on that. It's such a powerful tool because I mean, been misled. When I first started my company 10 years ago, I got all kinds of wild advice. And let me tell you, I wish that I had done this for myself. It wasn't until after, my maternity crisis, my son, that I really, built my own anchor, and that became my North Star. But had I had that earlier on in my business, I would have been able to filter the advice I was given and recognize how many of these different, advisors and coaches were, some were projecting onto me their own fears, and some were giving me advice that wasn't quite right for me, but would have been right for somebody else. But I couldn't differentiate or filter that yet. So the branding a blueprint gives you all of that. It gives you the grounding. It's meant to be your unshakable foundation because again, your core values don't shift. And uncovering those is sometimes hard. It's not something we talk about every day. What's your core values? What's your core values? So discovering that and be able to reflect on it. And then I really like the storytelling because it's a way to demonstrate them. My core values are clarity, connection, and simplicity. But just listing that isn't good enough. So storytelling allows you to demonstrate how I can demonstrate how clarity is important to me. That's why I do a branding a blueprint before we ever move forward on building out your brand, because I want you to have full clarity and confidence in every decision you make forward. Sometimes it's you just need that roadmap. And then others are ready to build out their whole brand and their website and scale to another level. but clarity is so important. So it shows up in what I prioritize. And so that gave me that decision making power. And then, so for everybody else, it's really meant to be that tool. And then connection, through storytelling again. Like my core values, now I see them everything in everything that I do, and they show up everywhere.
I love that. And you do always show up in authenticity, clarity, and simplicity. And so for that, I thank you. And as we begin to close out here, if anyone has a question, if you'll just raise your hand, I'm going to take a few more minutes with Kylea. Any kind of brand questions that you may have, any questions about your business, building, scaling, vision, anything like that, just go ahead and raise your hand, and then I will call on you. But Kylea, I really love how you made it so super simple for me to understand the framework that I was building. The IP development framework, and it is the alignment with your core values, like showing up as our most authentic, most true self. We're not compromising our identity. We're not
Hmm.
shifting our personality to fit in rooms that we don't belong and we don't have any business being there because it's going to take us lower than we ever want to go. Because, like I said in a
Yeah.
Saturday mastermind, we're all like rubber bands, okay? And rubber bands, you can stretch them. But what happens if you stretch that rubber band too far? You
Hmm.
break. And sometimes human life is like that as well. We find those moments of brokenness, we find those moments of devastation. We find ourselves in a maternity crisis, and 3 years of our work is wiped away just like that. And we don't have a job.
Yeah.
That money's not coming into the family. That's devastating. That is a break in the rubber band. And so, I really, really, really love how you made that so super simple for me. And so, Kylea, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, have a conversation with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
So, you guys can all, visit my website, but I'll give you my email address. I'll go ahead and type it in here. If any of you want to reach out and talk, I would absolutely love to connect with you and, talk about what your journey looks like. And if I can provide any insight to you, I'd be so happy to. I did want to add one quick thing that I thought of.
And we
That I
have one
forgot to.
question too.
Okay, awesome. So real quick, the world right now is pretty hectic, and we've taken for granted so many systems that have been built around us, and they're kind of, falling apart and disappearing, which creates a very unstable, unsafe feeling for us. And so I really encourage you all to go through this inward journey for yourself, because what this also does, you're creating your own belief system within yourself. So you're not going to be tied to these other systems that are falling away and changing and evolving at rapid speeds. You can build your own system within you and allow that to be your own support, because it is all within us.
Cool. I love that so much. And so we got a great question from
Okay.
Kevin Jones. Thank you for the question, Kevin. It says, how do colors play into your branding and reflection of who you are?
Oh, that's a fun question. Yeah, colors are powerful. So, when you're wanting to really, find the colors that are right for you, either your personal brand or your business brand, one, what colors make you feel good? You can look up the psychology behind a lot of the different colors. But really, I want you to look at how those colors evoke a feeling in you, and think about, because ultimately, if it makes you feel good, if it makes you light up, then your audience and the people around you are going to feel your energy, because
Mm,
they're connecting with you.
yes.
So, my colors are red and white. And if I based it just on definitions, red could be easily a color they say, avoid that color. But red is deeply personal to me from my Asian background and culturally, and I just love the color. So when you're designing that into your brand, it's also how you use it and how you apply it, but ultimately use your own feeling and emotional reaction to it as the litmus test. And then, have a few other people that are in your circle that you want to be engaging with or attracting and see how they feel about it. That's my recommendation because colors, you can really make any color work if you use it the right
100%.
way. But it's how it makes you feel and other people feel.
Oh, I love that so much. And I hope that helped you. Kevin, one here. What is one thing that can help an organization that has been in existence for 28 years, helping to keep Roulette clean and green, and now has a new beginning and opportunity to take that to the next level? Michelle, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that Kylea's answer to that will be very long reaching because I know how her brain works, and send her an email and
Reach out to
she will jump
me.
on a call
Yeah.
with you and answer that. But I know that she can help you. And whenever you were initially telling me about Kylea was the person that I was thinking of that could help pull that together if the community is coming together to continue the funding part of that there. So yes.
So
You know what? Yellow
exciting.
brings a smile to my face too. We can reach out to Miss Kylea at hoku.design. And tomorrow is the one and only Mr. Derek Green, founders of Waffles and Whatnot. He's going to be bringing us the sauce of life. We hope to see you again, 8:15 a.m. Everyone have a great, blessed, healthy, wealthy day. Bye, everyone.